So, everybody hates Piers Morgan, and seemingly that includes his darling beloved wife. And we've been doing some examinations, we've been doing some analysis, exploring into his relationship with his wife, and found that there appears to be quite a bit amiss within what may seem like a very rosy relationship from the outside, at least if we take her social media posts, numerous columns, interviews, and other such things as indicative as indicative of their relationship. Now, you might be wondering what started all of this. Well, something very simple started this, which was the already legendary watershed moment that was Nick Fuentes' interview with Piers Morgan, which I have not watched in full. I have watched many clips, which are all hilarious, and I have watched the first 30 minutes of it, which are also all every single minute of it is completely hilarious. It's a laugh a minute riot, guys. You don't even need to agree with anything that Nick is doing or saying to be able to get a lot of enjoyment out of it, because it really is a clash of generations that we witnessed before us. Piers Morgan representing the perhaps boomer mindset. He is an old Gen Xer, but he's still very much rooted in that post-war morality, versus a Zoomer like Fuentes, who is completely over the post-war morality that has been put on us for so many decades. And seeing the two meet is hilarious, because Nick isn't over the post-war morality. He is also very confident in saying so, and unlike many, does not shy away from the controversy that comes from that, and doesn't shy away from the questions. But despite his very good handling of the interview, Piers Morgan is nothing if not a world-class piece of shit. He is the scummiest of tabloid journalists. Just as a reminder for everybody, years ago now, he was found guilty in a court of law, an English court of law, of being aware of journalists underneath him at the Daily Mirror, which he was formerly the editor of at the time, of phone hacking, and this included hacking the phone of a dead person to try to find personal information and any kind of leaks that could be used for tabloid purposes. Omid Scobie, co-author of Finding Freedom, an unofficial 2020 biography of Harry and Meghan, Prince Harry and Meghan, you don't have to like them to understand that this does not reflect well on Piers Morgan, gave evidence that Morgan was reassured over a 2002 story about singer Kylie Minogue and her then-partner James Gooding after being told it had come from a voicemail interception. The judge referred to evidence as well given by David Seymour, group political editor of the Daily Mirror from 1993 to 2007, that Morgan had played a voicemail in the newsroom of Paul McCartney singing a song by the Beatles to his then-wife in 2001. There was a lot of other evidence presented as well, but he was found guilty in a court of law, no matter how much he may deny it. And we've just got to remember that that is the kind of character of person that we are dealing with, which is why it is unsurprising when during what should be an interview on one-to-one with Nick Fuentes, which should just be, if you want to interrogate Nick and his beliefs, that's absolutely fine, that's what he came there for, where Piers decides to bring Nick's father into it, less than 15 minutes into the interview, and then also names him. So let's watch this clip, which is where all of this originates.
Say, is everyone's a product of their environment. And I was reading some stuff about you in the last few days. There was an episode of your podcast where you talked about your father, Bill Fuentes, and how he wouldn't take the family, including you, to certain restaurants because he believed they were associated with African Americans. We would be deciding where to go to eat, you said. What are we going to do for dinner tonight? It was a running joke. Me and my sister would say Applebee's, and my dad would say we would never eat at Applebee's. Not in a million years should you be caught dead, Fuentes said about Applebee's. Go to a different restaurant, a local restaurant. No Applebee's, no Red Lobster. That is commonly known as black fare. And you also shared another story about your family and restaurants. Said, before me and my sister were born, my family had a saying about Olive Garden that contains the N-word that we're not allowed to say. So my question, based on that anecdote that you say on your own podcast, is do you think you grew up in a racist environment, that your father was inherently racist, and that thought process moved to you?
Well, I would say it's a new low. I've been attacked for being a racist many times, but to attack my father, to attack my parents based on anecdotes, I would say that's sort of a new low.
Hang on, it's your anecdote.
Yeah, but he's not here to defend himself.
You are.
And my parents are.
You told the story.
And I will. And I'll
I'm not trying to ambush you. As I
them.
said at the start, Nick, to be clear.
No, it's not an ambush.
Nick, to be clear,
I think
I'm not
understands.
ambushing you. I'm literally reading an anecdote that you revealed on your podcast. It's you that's put it in the public domain.
I know.
I'm simply asking you whether my assessment of that, which is that your father didn't want to take you to certain restaurants because of what you refer to as, they were commonly known as black fare, whether that attitude to African Americans in that instance permeated to you. It's a reasonable question.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think everybody knows what that is, but I'll address it. I'll engage with it, and I'll defend my father from the charge of racism.
Sure.
No, my parents are not racist, and they've never been racist. I'll tell you about my parents. They used to have a school in Chicago in the South Loop where they instructed people on how to shoot firearms. It was a security school, and most of the clients were black. And I believe actually one of their clients was Larry Hoover's son at one point, sort of a funny story. And so most of their clients would come in from the south side of Chicago. My grandmother, she grew up in the projects in the city. And so my family being in Chicago, being ethnics, being Italian, Irish, Mexican in the west side on Taylor Street, all over the city. My family for many generations have lived near and around black people. And look, my views about black people and their views about black people are shaped with experiences with black people. And what they will tell you, what my parents would say if they were here, is that for many, many years, the older generations of black people were very respectful, very humble, very decent. In fact, my grandma used to have an anecdote. She grew up in a lot of dysfunction. Her mother was mentally ill, and they would be having dinner in the projects, and there'd be so much chaos and dysfunction and disagreement and fighting. And she would look across the way out the window at a black family in the other apartment, and they'd be holding hands around the table saying grace. And this is sort of the culture that used to prevail. But now what you have in the city is that there's no accountability for the black people. And now Chicago has become a complete dump because these teenagers go out and they take over the city. They call them teen takeovers. That's the euphemism for it. They're teenagers, but they all come from the same neighborhood. They drive up there and they mug people and attack people, and they destroy cars and destroy shops. We had the Festival of Lights a couple of weeks ago. It's supposed to be a family event, and they light up the trees, and there's a big parade. I was in the parade one year, and you had a bunch of black people there shooting each other. 7 people shot, a 14-year-old killed in the Magnificent Mile. And I know there's a lot of black people that feel the same way about this. They say, we've lost control of the city, and we're looking for accountability. We have a lot of black people that are always outraged about racism, outraged about attitudes from white people, but they're never ashamed of some of these behaviors, never ashamed of some of the things that go on. And that's why
I just thought I'd let a bit of that play extra just so that you could see Nick's own response to that, because it was really a very underhanded blow to try and bring his own father into it. His father, who I don't believe had ever been named on the public record as well before. So putting his full name out into the public square was not only very sleazy, but could have very dangerous real-life repercussions for Nick's father if people watch this and decide that they want to try to get to the source of Nick Fuentes, given that he's trying to suggest through that, this is an environment of racism which has bred Nick Fuentes, who is now the greatest threat to democracy. We just had Charlie Kirk get shot just 3 months ago, right?
Yeah.
And now that you're putting private citizens' names out into the public square off of the basis of random anecdotes that Nick was telling on his own show, You are an utter scumbag, Piers Morgan. You are the lowest of the low to try and do this for the sake of a gotcha moment. Nick said that, oh, you know, this isn't an ambush. I think he was being very kind to you by saying that in the moment, because it very clearly was an ambush to try and throw him off for the rest of the interview. And I've got to commend him on how well he was able to compose himself for the rest of the discussion that they had, to the point where he was really, like, that was Piers' only moment of getting the upper hand, even for a brief second through the rest of the interview, because the rest of it really did come off as quite a domineering performance from Nick. Not to glaze him too much or anything. Of course, Piers seems to think that he won this whole exchange with possibly the most pure, unfiltered cringe I've ever seen in my life, because obviously everyone was calling him a boomer. Boomer Piers, Boomer Morgan. He responds, memo to all groypers. When you call me a boomer, I take it as a massive compliment. I literally use the word boom constantly on here to celebrate everything from Arsenal goals to England wickets and Piers uncensored ratings. I'm a very proud boomer, accompanied by, of course, this gif of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man saying boom.
Tony Stark, Piers Morgan, same energy.
He has to be rage baiting. There's no way.
I think his entire life is rage baiting, but I also think that I think this is him. I think this is who he is. He is, this is him in all sincerity. And if this was me in all sincerity, I would hope that I don't wake up tomorrow morning. Personally, if I knew that I had to live a day as Piers Morgan, I would rather take the eternal slumber. Personally, that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. But obviously, what we're focusing on is the personal attacks, the bringing the family into what should have been a discussion about Nick, about his beliefs, trying to throw him off just for the sake of a gotcha moment, which has had some pretty negative repercussions for Piers, because Nick quite rightly was furious about this.
He caught me off guard. That was so shitty what he did with my father. Because he knows what he's doing. He says he doxed my dad too. He says my father's name and then says, oh, your dad's racist and this is his name. That was low. And everyone knows what he was doing there. Everybody knows. And now you put a target on my dad. I hope you know that. So I hope you're happy with yourself. And that is out of line, actually. Family should be off limits. I'm in the arena. You want to call me a racist? I'm the one doing the show. My father's not a public figure. He's not political. So that's the only part that did bother me, because that is bullshit. And I won't get mad. You can attack me all you want. I don't care. But, you know, my father, leave him out of it. He's a civilian. And that was low. I mean, you should know better than that. You're on television. You've got 1 million+ followers on Twitter. You're a major celebrity. You're naming a random private person. And he knows that he's inciting political attacks on my dad and my family and my parents' fucking livelihood. My parents have cancer. They're fucking sick.
Yeah, and as a result of all of that, he's now said that, you know, you want to come after my father and his livelihood, your whole family is fair game now. And in a game of tit for tat, sadly, that is how it's going to work, Piers. You are the one who felt low enough to actually take these tactics in the first place. So it's only fair if people come after you as well. Of course, I have already seen some people supposedly on Nick's side who have been disavowed going after his youngest daughter, which I don't think it's worth it to stoop that low.
No.
But the thing, and I also think the comments themselves were disgusting, but people fixated on one particular part of this interview and thought there has to be a reason that Piers holds these views.
Okay, but it's fine. Where were we? We're talking about Trump, and somehow we got into
Trump.
You're white knighting for women's rights.
On Trump, well, I think women should have the same rights as you and I. You don't. That's fine.
Put on the pink hat, bro. Put on the pink hat. We're waiting.
What's the pink hat for?
For the march, for the women's march. Are we going to see you at the women's march, protesting for women's rights and all that?
I think women should have equal rights to men. Period.
You carry tampons in case your female friends get a period or something? Like, it's crazy.
I'd have no problem giving a female friend a tampon, would you? Have you ever?
So brave,
suppose you've
so
ever seen a
stunning.
tampon, have you?
Gross. Absolutely not.
You
Get that away
you think
from me.
tampons are gross?
Yeah, they're
Really?
filled with period blood. Yeah, it's kind of gross.
Wow. Have
Are
you
you
ever
into
seen
that? You like that? You
Have you ever
got
seen
a lot of tampons?
I don't think you've ever seen it, have you?
I've seen them. I've
Oh,
seen
you
them
have?
before.
You've been that close
Yeah.
to a woman? Really?
No, I've seen them. Look, I
Oh, you've seen
I
videos?
used to live with
I
women,
bet
so
you've
I've seen them around the
I
house.
bet you've seen videos, haven't you?
What? What are we doing here, Piers?
I'm not
you
sure.
really hate that.
I'm not sure,
You're
Nick.
more impressed that I'm a misogynist than you are about anything. It's
Not
very
really.
revealing.
I'm actually more exercised about your blatant, self-admitted racism than I'm.
I mean, honestly, like that's the complete reasonable response here. Like, what the hell are
How
you
did we get
doing,
here?
Piers?
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Why is Piers' main like he wants to drill down and interrogate? Do you watch the female members of your family put their tampons in? Do you carry tampons around? Tampons are amazing. They're delightful. They're incredible.
Oh, that's getting clipped.
Says Piers Morgan.
You know,
Right, like he's trying to make it out like it's just cool and normal. Like if he actually does, like obviously all he was doing there was reacting to Nick's bait. Nick baited him the whole way through there. But like if you do have a male friend who's like overtly kind about like tampons and period business, and they like actually want to carry tampons just in case one of their female friends just happens to go on their period then and there, that guy's a creep.
well, it reminds me of like a transgender when they carry tampons, and I'm starting to think in the movie Home Alone that Piers Morgan was actually the woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah,
the
pigeon
pigeon lady.
lady.
Yeah. So true.
Never seen them in the same place together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of creep does that? A guy who does that is the only kind of guy who's going to try... He's just doing it to get you to like him, and so he can get close to you, so that then he can get close to you, right? Or he's just virtue signaling, and that's all that this was. But people went like, this is a really weird thing to virtue signal about. Pretending that periods and tampons aren't gross. Why would he think this? Why would he say this so proudly? And then people, well, you know, it's fair game. Let's look into his family life. Let's see what might be motivating all of this. And what do we find? Well, we find that he has a wife. Celia Walden, wife without his surname. Weird. And she does this thing where she just goes on and on in every interview, every social media post, every column that she writes about how awful he is to be around, how much she hates him, how much she prefers the company of other men, how much she wishes...
Literally any other man.
Yeah, literally gay men as well. Literally how much she wants younger men to come and sweep her off of her feet. Like, here's some examples. Piers Morgan wife, I wear the trousers. Celia Walden on Good Morning Britain star. Piers Morgan's life stories is back. When it comes to Piers' own personal life, his wife Celia says that she wears the trousers.
Of course.
Piers' wife Celia Walden has often spoken about life with the ITV Good Morning Britain star, Piers, before he got kicked off it, confessing she believes she wears the trousers. She responded to the question of whether she wore the trousers in their relationship, saying, "Oh, yes, I think so. I think women are always quietly in charge. I just think it's best to let the men think that they are." No, Piers doesn't want to think that he's in charge. He desperately wants you to know that you're in charge because he's such a good husband. She took a 6-week sabbatical, apparently, from their marriage. And I know that this is all like tabloid dredging up shit, but this has been Piers' entire career. He is the lowest of the low scumbag. He tried to do these tactics on somebody who went into an interview with him on the basis of good faith, knowing, of course, that Piers was going to be the usual POS that he is, but still not expecting that he would dox his father and try to frame him as the founding reason why Nick is such a diabolical, feral Nazi.
Well, it's such a sinister thing to do because, as you say, he's using Nick's father to somehow use an example of relationships in Nick's life that made the monster.
Product of their environment. So I think it's only fair to examine Piers' own environment.
Well, exactly so.
And why
Might be
it is...
something that explains...
Why it is that he... Yeah, why... What's the explanation? Why are you like this, Piers? Why are you just such a good man? Why do you just care so much about women's rights? Clearly it's for the sake of your wife, who hates you. And who can blame her? Piers admitted that Celia has forgotten their anniversary every single year since they tied the knot in 2010. Speaking on ITV's Lorraine, he revealed she's forgotten it for 9 consecutive years. It's just like I'm not in her airspace at all. That's the thing that the woman should be worrying about. Like, that's not the thing that you should be worried about. It should be the man forgetting the anniversary. Have you not watched sitcoms from the 60s, Piers? Good God. And here's a photo of him being posted all over social media at the time, of him vacuuming the place after he got fired from Good Morning Britain. And, you know, it's like, it's one of these things, right, where one or two of these things by themselves, because I've got more examples, one or two of these things by themselves, oh, it's just a little bit of a playful thing, they're both public figures, let's have some fun in the public eye. It's literally any time she mentions him, the entire discussion that she has about him in the public sphere is just, I hate you, you're old, you're gross, you don't fulfill me, you need to be my bitch. Like, once or twice I'd be like, good one, honey, that's quite good. When it's every time you speak about me in public, I go, listen, have we got a problem here? But Piers Morgan, apparently, he absolutely loves the humiliation that I think he's into it. He loves the humiliation that she foists on him every single day. I mean, she's outright, like, this is the stuff that she posts on her Instagram, where here's me with Lenny Kravitz desperately wanting to have sex with him. Here's me with some random gay man, yes, but I just ever so prefer putting my hands all over him than I do you, Piers. Even though he's gay, I still prefer it. Here's me taking a cheeky undercarriage shot of another man's arse as he washes my car. Good job it's not you, Piers, or I might vomit. Here's me posting like I'm a literal prostitute next to the pool. Please, anybody other than my husband, come and have sex with me.
Application's now open. Wow.
Like again, once or twice, it's just a little joke.
I'd like to report a murder. Yeah,
this is just like over and over and over again. Here we go again. Here's what she says about him in interviews. Being married to him is one very long eye roll. What most people don't realize is that he's usually very quiet at home because he's exhausted himself on whatever interview he's doing. This is after his immediate exit from Good Morning Britain. This is the only reason I'm sad about him leaving Good Morning Britain. So the idea that she has to talk to him now. Well, that and the fact that I wake up and there he is staring back at me morning after morning. You must have done something horrible in a past life to deserve that, Celia, because that does sound like a personal kind of hell. She then explains how they met one another, and it really does just sound like he wore her down with enough persistence, and she just got taken in by the glamour of the whole thing. She said, I had a friend who had a crush on Piers, and I told her she was mad, but we arranged to meet for an interview. I assume he was interviewing her. And Piers managed to string it out over the course of about 4 different meetings. He kept saying, yeah, there are a few things I didn't quite get, and each of these meetings ended up in us having more and more alcohol, so he just tried to get you drunk enough to like him, until eventually he declared his real motivations and said, the thing is, you tick every single one of my boxes. And I said, that's weird, because you don't tick any of mine.
It's the fact she's gone to the press about this and said...
Well, she's a columnist. She's a columnist, and this is like her main subject that she talks about is how much she hates her husband.
Wow.
Like, look at this. Piers Morgan reveals he met his wife Celia Walden after he bombed while giving a speech and she laughed at his discomfort. Great start. Great start. Many a magical moment after that, I'm sure. And there's just a collection. Like, this is her most recent Instagram post. This guy is gay, but again, like... most of the pictures that she posts are not of Piers. Here's her saying, oh, I'm a loose woman. Here's me about to get railroaded by a bunch of Navy SEALs. Here's me thirsting over a much younger man. Please, anybody sleep with me. Here's me cucking my husband. Every post that has to do with Piers himself is her humiliating him, making him read books, saying things like, oh, he needs to read this or I'll divorce him. Here's me posing topless in a newspaper spread.
A divorce would be less embarrassing.
At this point,
tremendously less embarrassing.
I think she. I mean, it seems like for the past however long they've been married, she's just been slowly, inch by inch, digging a 6-foot hole to bury him in. Here she is, like, here's my husband. He's an absolute arse. Here I am calling him a massive blowhard. He's literally the devil. I agree with you on that one. Here I am with Rob What's-his-face, handsome Hollywood actor. God, I wish I was married to him instead. Here I am with random black man. I'll take literally anything over Piers. Here I am with another handsome actor. Please, anybody take me. Here he is in the literal sewage where he belongs. Like, Jesus Christ, here he is standing in front of this sign. The only way to get rid of temptation is to yield to it. Resist it and your soul grows sick. This is her, like, stand in front of this sign to let everybody know that I'm cucking you, Piers. Giving smiling interviews about why they took the marriage sabbatical. Her saying that he's a feminist on public television. Her laying in bed with another gay man, yes, but still she's very eager to lay in bed with other men by the looks of it, by her social media. Her saying that she was on Ashley Madison for research purposes. It was for journalistic research purposes. And then saying why we all need a best boyfriend. Any men's attention other than my husband. That's what I'm after, says Piers Morgan's wife. So, if we're to look into the environment of Piers Morgan and try and examine why he would say such ridiculous things like tampons and periods aren't gross, why he is such a cuck for all of the women around him, I think it's because, frankly, I can only assume, speculation, that he gets off on this. That this is something that he likes because, frankly, whether or not it started off as a joke, this is just beatdown after beatdown for the entire rest of his life over their marriage. I wouldn't put up with this. No man with a backbone would put up with this, even if it was just a joke. After a certain point, it's going to come across like what it is. Her publicly insulting you every single day whenever you're brought up. So, Piers, maybe you should worry less about Nick and his views and his families, and maybe you should sort your own household out first, mate.
He definitely gets off on it. If you look at, his career and the fact he debates like different right-wingers, he's constantly being humiliated by them. I mean, there's like famous clip with Ben Shapiro years and years ago where he's debating Ben Shapiro when he's at the start of his career, and he pulls out like a constitution, the American Constitution, and it's like, you should read this. You should catch up on American history because they're debating gun control. So he kind of reminds me of like the class clown who gets off and people bullying him.
Yeah, but also he's one of those people that actually, it doesn't matter, because he knows, obviously, this interview with Nick is going to get huge numbers of views, as of many of his interviews recently, and actually, it doesn't matter how humiliated he is by every single guest that he brings on, as they just steamroll all of his arguments. So long as he gets the views, so long as he gets the bank account numbers up, so long as he gets his curry, he's happy.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.